Hello everyone, welcome to another stream. And today you can see that I am streaming from Windows 11. That's unusual for me because I usually work and stream from Windows 7 because I have been developing RWPaint and other real-world application on a very old version of Visual Studio 2008, so it's 15 years old, and this is going to change very soon because I simply need to use recent tool because Windows 7 is not going to be supported anymore, and the C++ language that I'm using to develop real-world application has changed in the recent years quite significantly, and in order to be able to use all the new features of the C++ language, I need to switch to a new version of the development environment. What is this message? Let's ignore it. So, in the last 3 weeks, I have been working on converting from the old Visual Studio to the new one, and here you can see how the solution, the number of projects in the whole real-world set of applications. There are over 100 different projects, but each application only uses subset of these of the all available components. So it is now possible to compile a real-world Paint Reworkers editor in this new Visual Studio, and this brings some changes to how you will be able to use real-world Paint and others. So this will be version 2023.2. This is not yet available. I will upload an updated zip package after this stream ends. And let's start, for example, with this online page. These plugins that are available here are not compatible with the new version. So if you try to install them, they will not work, at least most of them. And I will eventually update this page, and you will either be able to install newer version of these plugins, or they will not be available, but eventually all of them will reappear. So if you decide to test this new version after this stream ends, don't install plugins. And why this incompatibility? This is because the new version of the Visual Studio, that is a development, it's a application for developing other application from Microsoft, is using an updated version of the core libraries for C and C++, and these are different in the old version of the Visual Studio and in the new version. And these plugins here are expecting something like the old version, and the old version of the library is not available anymore in the new RWPaint, so they will not work. So I have to re-upload a different version that will be using the new version of the C and C++ libraries. Let's quickly check comments. Hello, hi there people, hi Flix within, okay, new name, and Shipunov, wow hype, okay. You can post questions at any time and I will occasionally look at them and answer you. So let's look at the package with RWPaint. This here, all these files are part of the C++ library, these all and these three here. So there in the old version there were just two files, one for C and the other one for C++, but now Microsoft has decided that they want to do things differently, and we have these 45 different small files. Most of you will actually be able to delete these files without problems because they are part of Windows. They are part of newer version of Windows. But if you are using an older Windows 7, some of these files may not be there if it's not updated, or even Windows Vista maybe. I'm not even sure whether this new version of RWPaint compiled in the new Visual Studio will work on Windows Vista, for example. I don't feel like I would like to test it because almost nobody is using that. It probably will not work on Windows XP. So if you are still using Windows XP, then don't upgrade to the future version. You can still use the currently available version 2023.1. This should, I think it should also work on Windows 2000 because the old development environment was still supporting old versions of Windows. So from now on, Windows 7 and up. When you compare these other files, the actual parts of RWPaint, they are in general a bit smaller than the old files, and the application should also be possibly faster, slightly faster, because the new Visual Studio has an updated compiler and it should be able to optimize the code better, and possibly also use instructions that are available in the newest processors. So that's an advantage possibly for you. For me, the advantage of using the new development environment is that I will eventually be able to use all the advantages of the newer C++ standard. So that means shorter code and therefore less errors and in general it's more convenient. Also, part of this of the preview I will be uploading today is a codec for JPEG XL. Somebody requested it a month ago, so this is still a preview version of this codec. It doesn't support animated images. JPEG XL can read and write animated images, and I will have to implement this functionality later. For now, it's just for static images, and it should produce smaller files than both JPEG and PNG. You can do a quick test. Maybe it will work. So let's open something. This is an example. Let's open something from here, maybe. So this is, well, let's try this. This is this icon used for application options, and I will try to save this as PNG. Let's put it on desktop, and then let's try to save it as JPEG XL. It has a lossy and lossless mode. If I enable lossless mode, that's what we want for these kinds of images when we compare it with PNG. So let's save it like this. And this is 4.16 kilobytes. And the other one, let's quickly check it. The PNG is smaller in this case, so JPEG XL wasn't not better in this case. It's interesting. Maybe try a different file. It should be better for more complicated images with gradients and such, but it doesn't really matter. You can see that you can save your pictures JPEG XL. If you leave this unchecked, then you can choose compression quality. Let's try to save this as a lossy JPEG XL, maybe quality of 770, and let's check this file. This one is even bigger and there will be some losses. Maybe there's maybe these colors of these pixels were changed. So you can see that you should not use lossy compression for icons and graphics like this. You probably should use lossy compression for photographs. Anyway, in the future, the JPEG XL codec will support animations. Let me quickly check. Comments, no new comments. Another thing I want to add to RWPaint and others is also related to codecs. And right now you can go to application options, and here you can select your favorite image formats or also other types of supported files. but mostly images, because RWPaint only works with images, and the others you can add icons or cursors here, but there is only a limited amount of formats for cursors or icons. So I would like to add a new section to this page, and in that section, when you select something here, it will show you the configuration dialog for the selected format, and you will be able to choose the defaults for this format. So for example, when you open this and you go to save as, and then you, for example, pick PNG, these options currently always looks like this. These two are unchecked and this one is checked. And if I implement these presets for each format, then you will be able to for example, checks maximum compression in the global options and unchecks, for example, this, and this will be your default for PNG images each time you save them. It will be probably even better for JPEG and others, because you will be able to choose the compression quality you use most often, instead of always seeing 85, and also for these other options. So I think that will be a practical addition. Okay, let's now quickly look at the development environment, and basically with this update to the newest version, this version of Visual Studio is free for individuals and open source projects, and for example, in short, it's free for everyone except larger organizations that create closed source software. So everyone can download the Visual Studio. I will the currently published version of RWPaint code is still using the old Visual Studio, but I will eventually publish this updated version, and you will be able to download and install Visual Studio from Microsoft and download the source code for RWPaint and open it in here, and you will be able to modify it as you see fit. And let's for example look quickly at a very simple example plugin, this one, and I will tell you how to create a simple plugin for RWPaint that does an image effect. So this is basically a generated project by the Visual Studio. This file just includes some parts of Windows and Windows libraries. This one defines for what are the minimum versions of Windows that we are going to use. This doesn't do anything useful. This just defines the version of this plugin. This is an empty resource file basically. This file defines the 3 exported functions that each RWPaint plugin must export. It will look basically the same if you will create your own file. This is basically same for every plugin. So you just copy this file, part of it will be generated, but you can simply copy it and everything will work as it should. So this is part of the resource file here, but there are no resources. And the only two interesting files are these two. And you can see that I am defining here a C++ class that implements selected interfaces that are defined in some of the real world files, these ones. And here are declared some of the methods you need to implement when you are creating a plugin. And in this other file contains the actual code. And this part here in the activate function contains the most important part of this image effect. And if you are at least a bit familiar with C++, you should be able to see what's going on here. First, we receive a document that we are working with, and we ask the document whether it is a raster image. If it's not a raster image, we don't work with that kind of document. If it is, we continue. We read a value from our configuration, and we obtain some information about the image size, allocate a buffer, read the pixels from the image, and here this very simple filter just removes or changes some of the pixels in the image to be transparent. And finally we send the updated image back to the editor, and it will be, and that is all basically. Here the other functions here are just some user interface related to user interface. This returns the name of our filter, and it also indicates, let's see how it works. When I apply this example effect, where it is, maybe I don't see it. It could be that it's hidden. Okay, let's check. I know what's the problem. The problem is that the file with this sample effect is not part of the application. Let me copy that. This one, and I am running it from here, so I'll copy and paste it here, and then restart the application, and now it's here. So you can see what it is doing, and for example this dissolve dash 20% text was generated by this function that reports that should quickly indicate to you what the filter is doing. When I modify this value here, it is updated here. So let me quickly check comments. That's not what I wanted. No new comments. Okay, so this is just a name for automatic adding to menu, and the description. So, and here we define the configuration for the plugin. It has a single parameter. Its type is a ranged number from 0 to 100 in step of 0.1, a default value of 20. It's a name and description of this parameter. Okay, so I think that will be enough for today. The package with this new version will be uploaded in a couple of minutes, and the updated source code will take more time. If anyone is interested in playing with this, with the source code of RWPaint, let me know and I will upload it faster, make it a priority. So if there are no questions, then I will finish the stream. So we have 30 seconds to ask your question. I will look at this. One more thing, maybe there will eventually be a newer version of Real World Icon Editor, and I think I will create this newer version in the old studio, and it will be version 2023.1 and will be compatible. The plugins will be compatible with this older system, and you will be able to run it on Windows XP. So it will be still using the old Visual Studio. Okay, no questions. So if you are watching this offline, feel free to ask in the comment section under the video, and see you again in 3 weeks. Goodbye.